Hey guys, good to see you on another Wednesday afternoon. How are you guys doing all? Everyone doing all right? See a bunch of you already in the chat. Always lovely. Sup Duck, so your trading success is all due to your flexible thumbs? I don't think so. No, I don't think that helps, but yeah. Sound video good? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Lost a lot today. I hate to hear it. A bunch did. I saw people on Twitter posting about losing millions, which I'm surprised about given the price action. But I mean, I guess altcoins pulled back a little bit harder than Bitcoin. But yeah, a bunch of over leverage going on. Doing decent bad read on the market these days though. Yeah, I mean the market's been pretty choppy in regards with Bitcoin. The rest, I mean, the altcoins have been a little bit better, but Bitcoin's been tough. But yeah, we'll jump into that. We talked about like support levels being tested a couple times and that kind of stuff last week. So we'll go and kind of revisit that, talk about Bitcoin, talk about some of the US altcoins, and see if there's something there. SPX looks good and Bitcoin's still dumping. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, Bitcoin outperformed SPX massively on the way up. So, okay. Before we start, big shout out to Blockfolio for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate that. And their links are in the description if you want to check them out. And yeah. Let's start, shall we? So Bitcoin high time frame, monthly still looking good, right? I mean, no reason to worry there. New month, last month closed strong. Nothing there really. On the weekly, it's been a little bit choppy, really. I mean, like you just have to look at that like support resistance level. It's pretty much, I mean, just sideways for the last 4 weeks, which isn't bad, right? Given the market's been up straight and then now it's going sideways. I mean, that's good market structure, but still far from support, still no resistance to be had. So, I mean, not even the weekly time frame is of any help. And the daily time frame, that's where some stuff is to be seen that you can actually work with, in my opinion. One being this support, right? So broke through it. We talked about it last week, 7 days ago. I think that was like immediately after or during that candle, where I was like, okay, this is the first retest. That's fine. Shouldn't really revisit there. Otherwise, I'm just gonna chop or go down, and now we've had both, right? It chopped, like it revisited, bounced, chopped there, and then kind of had this sell-off today. So I don't really like the support anymore. I didn't like it. Like the first test was fine. Anything after I really didn't like. Now we're kind of trading below it or like in the lower boundary of it, and I don't really think that's like there's any trade to be had in this one. Either down here, if it dumps a little bit harder because the support is a more fresh one, or above it again. Anything else is just not interesting. Talk about outflow a little bit more in depth. It doesn't always mean bullish, right? I mean, the thing with outflow, inflow, whatever, right? And I've talked with a bunch of other really smart people about it. Is that there's a lot of psyops going on. There's a lot of it's just not necessarily a good indicator. As far as I've been told from a few colleagues of mine, we talked with Sam about it a little bit, and pretty much everyone seemed to come to the conclusion that it's really hard to read that stuff and that there's not as much edge in it as people think. So do with that as you will. But I mean, for me, it's not as simple as, okay, outflows, inflows. And for the people that don't know what that is, like when you have like an exchange, right? When Bitcoin flows into that exchange, people assume, okay, they're gonna dump, and if Bitcoin flows out of the exchange, people are gonna assume, okay, they're gonna hold. But that's not necessarily the case. You can sell OTC, you can do a bunch of stuff, and it's not as simple as price go up when Bitcoin flows out and price goes down if Bitcoin flows in. Even though, I mean, you can watch it, and if you have confidence with it, I mean, do run with it. It's fine by me. This will 100% be a red month. Look at the monthly, first red monthly candle in ages. This won't turn green. I mean, these monthly candles have been red, these two, during that time, and then they went back up again. But I mean, who the fuck knows, right? It's straight up. I mean, it makes sense to be bullish in a bull market, right? And if you want to be bearish, I mean, it's not based on the monthly. If anything, based on the daily. And I think as long as you're trading above here, it's still in bounce territory. If we start closing below there, I think it's easy way to like 49. And if that breaks, I mean, next support's in the 40s. So, and it's the most important chart of them all. I mean, you see Bitcoin pull in like 4%, and then you see all the other altcoins dump. So you gotta analyze Bitcoin to be able to trade the altcoins. Okay. Outflow was to suck everyone in for longs and then dump into other exchanges. Yeah, I mean, you can do a bunch of stuff with it, right? It's not really as helpful as people make it out to be. But yeah, this is support down here. If we start closing, like let's say the daily closes back above like 57.7, I'd expect some more chop or upside. Right now, generally speaking, I expect this to chop for a while, just to go sideways here. Could be wrong on that, but it just feels like a market where everyone's like, okay, this has to stop chopping because it's already done that so long, and then it does it for another week or two. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just goes sideways for a little bit, even though it's already extended. Beginner here, I'm finding it hard to draw support resistance without being confident in it. Too many or too little lines. Advice. I mean, you just pick the ones that make the most sense, right? You don't want to be drawing lines all over the place. You want to be picking the ones that actually make sense to you. And I mean, this, for example, is pretty obvious, right? The high, when we broke out that there, it just kind of rallied really hard. So you can kind of see off of the reaction off of this candle that this is a strong level, right? You've also had a retest in here that led to sell off. So I mean, that's a good level, right? And then you can go and do that for the other ones. For me in general, when you have like a downtrending movement into consolidation, that's always going to be an interesting area. Probably like it usually turns into resistance. If it bounces, and if it's reclaimed, turns back into support. And then, I mean, that's as simple as it gets, basically. And then you can obviously do the same thing on uptrends, right? And then it goes back down here and bounces. Advice, start with higher time frames. That's actually good advice, yeah. Cred's coming in with good advice in here. The only reason why I'm not giving that is because there's not that much to talk about on the higher time frames in forms of support, right? If you want to be talking about support on the higher time frames, on the monthly, you'd have to talk about 14K, and I don't want to do that. just makes my PTSD come up. But yeah, that's basically. I mean, it's good advice in this one, for example. I mean, you can see on the weekly time frame exactly that structure where you have consolidation there, and that's going to be really good support if we do get there. I mean, do we get there? Not entirely sure, but if we do get there, I'm expecting a large bounce from that. Daily counts as higher time frame too. I mean, for me, it doesn't really, but yeah, if you're comparing it to the 5 minute and you like, if you're trying to draw support resistance levels on this, you're trying to draw support resistance levels on chop, basically. That's all you're doing, right? I mean, it's just chopping around. I mean, you can draw support resistance lines here and have fun with it. But like I could, like anyone basically, or almost anyone, like a person with 1 Bitcoin could fuck you over by just margin longing through your line or selling through your line on the downside, right? So on the 5 minute, I mean, it's easy to kind of ruin support structures and resistance structures for like a wick or even just briefly trade above. And it's not as easy on the 1 hour. It's even harder on the 4 hour. It's even harder on the daily. It's even harder on the weekly, right? So if you want to be drawing like support resistance lines that really are going to matter, even though they're going to be far in between, or what's the saying anyway? Like if you're looking for support resistance lines that are going to stand for a while and are going to have a meaningful impact, I mean, the higher you go in time frame, the better, obviously. This is scam PA to steal your coins, not even kidding. Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what consolidation is usually. Like, I mean, this kind of stuff, right? Bitcoin goes sideways, and I mean, basically this gets people to kind of lose their shit. I don't know why. Like this, I prefer this type of trading usually, but people just lose their shit whenever they see this. This kind of movement, perfect for holding. I mean, just gotta have to chill. Anything that you do besides chilling is probably gonna cost you money. In this, you actively trade, and you can make money, but I mean, bunch of people over leverage in this kind of environment and get wrecked. But then again, they also doing this one. But yeah. So tip of the day: don't use too much leverage. Few and far in between. Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks, by the way, both you and Credit. I'm slowly learning. I mean, that's all I want to hear. But yeah, currently we're in a little bit of a sell-off. Now, is that a pullback or is it a correction? In my opinion, given how shitty this daily is, 3 tests, it's probably gonna break down here, right? And I mean, it's already doing so. Now, I want to see how this daily closes. If it closes through support but above this one, I think we're still good. And I'm going to continue being cautiously bullish. So I don't have to really do much. But if we start losing 54, I think we're in a world of like we're going to be in trouble relatively soonish. So, I mean, I don't like seeing this support. Jesus Christ. Today is not my day. I don't like seeing this support being broken already, but I would really hate seeing this one go. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. If we break this support, I think we're in for a correction and a meaningful one, just based on the fact that you have like this. Let's actually draw this on a clean chart, right? So you have these swing lows. You have a swing low here, and then you have a swing low here, right? And after these swing lows, what you want to be seeing is a violent push upwards, right? And I mean, just retested and then went. This went up, and you can kind of see how shitty this would look if we started going near that swing low again, right? So have a bounce here, have weaker bounce here. Like, that's why we start getting in trouble. That's why I really want to be seeing this support that we have in here hold, right? Because then you could say, if it does hold, right? Let's remove this for a second. If it does hold, rolls over in here and then bounces again, that would make for a good springboard to kind of crush the all-time high, right? But if it doesn't hold, we're in this weird zone where it's like, yeah, it might bounce from the swing low, but then it runs right into that resistance. And I would expect that to hold at that point. And then for this to sell off. If it sells off, we're in the same position that we were in with this swing low, where this swing low is very, very different from this swing low, right? So you had a violent push upwards. Now, if we break this one, we have the same situation, violent push upwards into kind of rounding out. And then I would expect that to break too. And then we would have to kind of find our footing somewhere in between there. So I really want to see this hold. I think that's the line in the sand for now. And I mean, it could just chop through again. That's how Bitcoin and crypto markets in general like to behave whenever there's this much indecision in the market. But I mean, it's for these kind of situations, it's completely fine, at least in my head, to lose like 1% or 2% here and there, just to make sure you're not in when it does start rolling over, right? So cautiously bullish, but if 54 gives, I mean, I'm not expecting the swing low to do too much unless a big investor or whatever comes back in again. And I mean, that's why you have to kind of watch the spot bids, watch what goes on the spot exchanges in general to kind of spot that. But if no one steps in at that point, I would expect it to kind of cascade to the downside. So there you go. Don't catch a bottom on Bitcoin here. I think like if you want to be catching a bottom, I mean, that's just the best way to do it in the 54 region. I don't like the 55 region too much, but could be wrong on that front. But yeah, it's not my favorite kind of area. Okay. I'm going to need to borrow some lunch money. I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? Bitcoin's not even like Bitcoin's trading at like minus 10% below the all-time high, and everyone's just freaking the fuck out. So, I mean, this is terrible, right? From a charting perspective. Yes, there is potential for this to roll over if we start losing support, but we haven't yet, right? So it's like, it's still bullish. It doesn't make much sense to be panicking yet. It makes sense to kind of make a plan for what happens if, but right now it's still looking okay. And there's even 4 hours to go. Like, let's say this bounces and closes green today, which would only be like a few percent. Like, that's a 4 to 5% rally. It's nothing for Bitcoin. And we'll look incredibly bullish again. So yeah, looking a little bit rough, but I mean, it can fix itself. And if it doesn't, we know where we want to be kind of doing business, right? At weekly support in the worst case, which I'm not even, like, this is still way too far off. But like, if everything goes wrong, this is going to hold, in my opinion. And if nothing goes wrong, we're going to bounce from here or even in this green candle, green box. Could you please have a look on the reverse chart? I mean, okay. Let's see what the reverse chart has to offer. I mean, that looks widely bearish, right? Now, you could make an argument that you have weaker sell-offs every time, but I mean, that's pretty far-fetched. And if you make that argument, you would kind of have to bet on Bitcoin going to zero. So it's a pretty shitty argument. Because, I mean, if you're in this market and you're betting on Bitcoin going to zero, right? Even more so during a bull market like this, yeah, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice because you could be trading something else instead. Because if let's say you're stuck in this, right, and you're thinking Bitcoin goes to zero, Bitcoin is going to trade like this, goes to zero, whatever, right? Then there's a million other markets where you can be bullish because, like, if you're shorting this, right, you would have to reshort and reshort and reshort on the way to zero, and then at some point your exchange disappears. That kind of shit doesn't really help you, right? So all the hyperbole, whatever, I mean, it's never been like anyone that's kind of peddling to that crowd. I mean, they're not really trading it. You want to be trading markets that you're bullish on. And I mean, this is a bullish market. I mean, you're make clear, I mean, on the inverse, you made clear lower lows, so trend seems to be pretty clear, right? And then if you're looking on the lower time frames, because I'm betting that you wanted to see that, I mean, you could make an argument that this is accumulation, whatever, but then again, like, I like my accumulation ranges with a spike down, so that argument is still a pretty hard one to push. So this doesn't really help us much. I think the normal chart is just the easier one to see where it's going, and 54 is the area to watch. Lol, what the fuck is this reverse chart? Yeah, if you just type in 0 minus and then the chart that you want to be seeing, I mean, you get the inverse chart, obviously. What's the point of looking at the inverse? Okay, so for the people that, like, it was a big meme back in the day. Like, there was a good reason why people looked at, and I mean, there are a couple good reasons for looking at the inverse chart. One being, you kind of defeat your bias, right? If you're like expecting everything to just go up, right? You're just always expecting green candles. You can kind of turn on the inverse chart, look at it, and you can be like, okay, how is this looking? Am I just blinded by the green candles or whatever? And that can help you. And in general, it just, most of you, including myself, we have these lines drawn on this chart, right? We have our lines, we have the way that we kind of look at the market. And then if you kind of throw that all over, and I encourage you to do that from time to time. That's why I like get these naked charts out there from time to time, right? Is to kind of look at it with fresh eyes. So delete everything, just do it new. The only reason why I don't do it on my main chart is because I want to be consistent with the stuff that I talk on here. So people can kind of see where this stuff is coming from. But like usually I just get a fresh chart out there, draw something on there, see if there's anything that I'm missing on my main one. So I can only recommend you do that too. Makes sense. I still prefer black and white candles. Yeah, but that doesn't make any difference. I mean, you're just going to get used to it. I could turn this yellow and pink or like whatever, and I'd still get used to it. And then at some point, I'd still prefer the yellow over the pink. Okay. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Selling off a little bit. Nothing too concerning yet. ETH is interesting, and you can kind of see that I've been lazy on changing these colors. ETH's trading at support right now, and ETH's actually been pretty good as a market leader, honestly. It broke out first. It's been pulling back pretty much back to the highs. I hate whenever something puts in an all-time high and then pulls back all the way. Like, let's say this was the all-time, you have like an all-time high here, you break it and you pull back immediately. I don't usually like that. But the market's been super choppy, so it's like to be excused. Still not a fan, but I mean, it's just the way it is. If we start breaking down below that, I'd start getting worried. Even worse if we start losing this one. Like, these two really shouldn't be lost. I think the line in the sand for ETH is really 1.7K. If that gets lost, I think this rolls over, and then if that rolls over, this rolls over, right? So you still have a few supports to go. This one, and then this one. These ones shouldn't break, but if they do, I don't think this is going to do much, and I don't think this is going to do much, and then you're back in this range. So far so good. Nothing too worrying. I don't like that it's pulled back from all-time high this quickly, but I mean, like I said, chop market likes to chop. We'll see how that turns out, right? But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about ETH. And ETH BTC has been also choppy. I don't know if you guys have been following the weekly open stream that I do with Ledger and Luke and Josh. And we were talking about this, like that the market was super, super choppy, and that we would be kind of expecting a breakdown here into a rally. That happened. It's now at resistance, and you could make an argument for like a head and shoulders if you wanted to, like if you really, really wanted to. So that's kind of the area that we're in right now. I don't like fresh longs into this, but if we do break it, I think that's a good, what's this, like 50% to go. So yeah, ice burning, please. Black background. Nah, I hate black backgrounds. I don't have it on Twitter. I don't have like the only place that I do have a black background is on Discord, and I don't know why, it just looks stupid white, but I prefer the white background. If Bitcoin went down, would it bring altcoins with it? Yeah. So how that plays out, right? Whenever you have Bitcoin go down, Bitcoin breaks down, the altcoins break down with it. More often than not, even harder than Bitcoin does. If the altcoins are in generally bullish, what they do is they just do this while Bitcoin does this, right? So like this part's always the same, or like 99% of the time. Bitcoin breaks down, altcoins break down even harder. But like I said, if the altcoins are bullish, Bitcoin just needs to put in like a tiny bounce and the altcoins just go back. And then Bitcoin consolidates here, altcoins go, and then Bitcoin can even break down again. You get another little pullback on the altcoins, but then they go higher, right? Like that's the difference. You have to, like when the altcoins in general are bullish, they're gonna break down with Bitcoin, yes, but they're gonna recover quicker and then just go back above the highest, even if Bitcoin doesn't. In general, in 17, my kind of strategy for picking Bitcoin and altcoin tops was basically looking, or like bottoms. Bottoms was even easier. Bitcoin broke down, and then I saw capitulation on the altcoins, and then they would bounce together, and the altcoins would bounce stronger back then. And all was good, right? You saw the capitulation oftentimes on the altcoins, and then it kind of moved over to Bitcoin. That's the way I used to do it. Nowadays, I think it might actually be even better because now we have a bunch of leverage on the altcoins, so you get deeper washouts on those. So yeah, if Bitcoin starts like pulling back for real, I'm going to be looking for this. But then again, like we haven't had a real pullback, so I haven't been able to test my thesis and see if it actually holds true still. But I would be surprised if not. So if Bitcoin, like let's say Bitcoin pulls back to 35, right? Not expecting it, but if it does, then I think the altcoins would absolutely mega shit to bed. But they probably, like if Bitcoin did this and then bounced, they'd probably be trading back to their highs at that point, even though Bitcoin just bounced a little, right? So that's kind of my view on it. Why do some altcoins not move at all? Are there institutions behind it? No. So why do like some coins move and some don't? I mean, it depends, right? Let's say you're a bag holder of XTZ, for example, here. This goes up. You've been holding this for years. You sell, right? New people that try to buy this project now have to kind of buy it through your sell. And the people that have already held it in the past and are kind of sick of it, sold it, they're not going to jump into the fire to kind of buy it off from you. So you kind of have the situation where people dump into moves up and then it just doesn't move much, right? Now, if you compare this to a new coin that doesn't have as many back holders, very, very different kind of movement, right? So whenever you have these older coins that have a lot of back holders, oftentimes you kind of have to take care of the back holders first before you can go. So that's why you oftentimes, when you have a chart like this, and then you pump a little bit, and it retraces all the way, and then it goes. Now, why does it do that? The reason is the people that bought in here are looking for an exit, they see a pump, they sell into it, and then they're out of it, right? And then you get the pump. That's usually how the altcoins like to play out. And some people call it test pump, some call it whatever. It's really just like relieving the backholders of their pain. And then once they're gone, you can actually go. So yeah, it's just a function of the older altcoins just having a bunch of people that really want to get out. And then you have some coins where the people behind the coin are just selling nonstop, right? So something that we've had with XRP. Pretty much any, and I mean, yeah, I can show you the longer term time frame chart. Pretty much any rally has been aggressively sold into by the XRP Foundation and the people behind XRP. It's just how they operate, right? They're trying to get the best price for the XRP because they have so much. By the way, like we talked about this on Weekly Open as well, and I still think XRP actually doesn't look too bad, which is, I hate to say, but I mean, it's pretty damn, I mean, it's at resistance, right? But you can imagine what would happen if that resistance broke. So we've tested it once. I hate the second test, even more so after a short while, right? It's the same, like I showed you Bitcoin earlier, where it does something like this, right? I hate that. I don't like to buy this. I don't like to buy this. Now, this is the same thing on the inverse, right? Let's say this goes back down again and rallies back into it. I would expect it to break out, right? And where does it go from there? There's not really that much resistance. So, I mean, I could see XRP, like if it does manage to break that resistance, to put in another giga rally of the past, basically. But yeah, I don't really like XRP very much, but it's looking pretty good. In my opinion, not right now. It's at resistance right now, but if it pulls back a little and then gives another attempt, just looks strong. Your watch list is like a time machine. I mean, these coins actually look strong for the like. This is Bitcoin Cash. Like my time machine is actually looking strong for the first time in a long time. Bro, XRP literally went from 10 cents to 110. That's insane, 11x. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin went from 3K to 60K. It's even more insane. But yeah, I mean, depends on how you look at the market, right? If you're looking at it in USD terms, sure. I mean, XRP, this is a shit performing chart over its lifetime, right? I mean, looking back on XRP. This is pretty shit, right? Did nothing. I mean, it's surprising that it's so strong, and this is one of the stronger ones because it's still trading basically where it launched at. So it's kind of held on par with Bitcoin, but it's still like this has much more risk involved in it. So you're trading an altcoin that's just going sideways like this, just like Dogecoin basically. And I mean, Dogecoin's rally's been insane. But it's the same chart where it goes like this. So over the lifetime of Dogecoin, I mean, Dogecoin's not outperforming or underperforming, even though right now it's kind of strong still. But yeah, just the boon of the altcoins. They like to, at best, go like this. But this is a lot of trading opportunity, right? And if you look at some of these other names, I mean, Litecoin, for example, over the lifetime, same story, starting to approach levels of importance right here, cycle low. But this is actually a downtrend so far still. So any kind of bounce, and I hope this bounces, I hope this weekly closes above this resistance, because then where can it go? I think there's an easy route to like next resistance, which is up here. But any kind of bounce, I would expect a lower high on. But I mean, there's good money to be made there. But yeah, That is, bro, Verge went from less than cent to $6 over 100x. Yeah, a bunch of shit went stupid and always has. It's all coins and that's crypto for you. How many of you joined crypto in 2021? I mean, that's a question for the chat. I'd suspect not that many, actually. It's over, isn't it? I was so fucking over leveraged. Fuck. I mean, if you're thinking this is over because of a 5% pullback, you really are over leveraged. I'm sorry to tell you, bro. I mean, that's just, yeah. And even if you're in altcoins, if they go down 10% and you lose too much, I mean, yeah, you're doing something Jesus Christ, colossally, I think that's the word, colossally wrong. It's not the way to go. Right? I mean, you just have to look at this market, right? You see this on the weekly time frame, and this is like why, like people always tell me you need to get in on this. It's gonna go 100x. This is gonna go 1000x, whatever. And then they go all in and they gamble basically in a market that is only up, right? This is only up. Gamble everything that they have to make a little bit more. Whereas in this case, Bitcoin's case, right? If you're just riding this, you're already doing really well. Now, if you want to be trading, don't risk it all, right? No one that is kind of going in, playing poker, is going to go all in every turn. This makes no sense. Going to have some risk management, and I feel like that's what most people are missing. Just like, okay, I think this goes 10x, so I'm going to all in. Not recognizing that if it doesn't, they're going to be out of the game, right? And it's really hard to get back in. And I've seen it over the years, over and over and over again. Oh well, can't wait for 90% dump overall. Oh man, I would prefer not, but I'm not expecting it either. I don't think Bitcoin's gonna dump 90%, but I mean, if it does, God forbid, I'm probably gonna buy some again. Where would that put it? And that's the crazy part. If it dumps 90%, it's just 5k. I mean, it doesn't even, like 5k is just something that we've had last year, basically. So yeah. If you look at the 17 run fractally, a correction till 48 to 40k would be completely in line with historical movement attitude of Bitcoin. I mean, if you're looking for the 40% retrace, yes. I mean, you've had these like a million times, and 40% retrace would kind of put us in that area. Now, do we get it again? I would be surprised. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to get it from here though. So, I mean, if we get it, it's just a buy because we're in a bull market. Typical Donald stream, minus 90%, 5k. Dude, it wasn't my suggestion. You're blaming stuff on me that I never said. So, don't pin it on me. Pin it on whoever said it. Get his name. Write him up. Yeah. The altcoins, I mean, Link's the one that, Link and Wi-Fi are the ones that interest me the most because they're like slow moving pieces of shit lately. I mean, the funny thing about all of this, right, is if you're looking at CoinMarketCap, right, whenever something moves into this zone here, right, it just fucking dies. It's just how it is. And this is pretty damn nutty. Fucking XRP. But I mean, not surprised about that one. But whenever something moves in the top 10, and this is something that you really should be watching, I mean, it's already super, super big. So multipliers are hard to come by. So what happens is it moves into it and then it just starts being dead in the water, right? So Link, for example, moved in the top 10, went quite a bit high. I mean, it's already on the way back down again in the top 10 list, right? But what happened after is just been fucking boring. And then you had Wi-Fi move, I mean, got close anyway. And then Wi-Fi did the same thing, right? So whenever something gets too close to the top 10, probably not the best investment anymore on a relative basis. Just because people are like, okay, is this coin really overtaking Ethereum? And then they're going to be like, no. Is it going to overtake any of the other ones? Probably not. And then they're just selling off or holding back on the buys. Which makes sense, right? I mean, it's how I look at it too. If I see a coin here, right, that I think has a lot of potential, let's say I'm a huge fan of Zcash, and I'm like, okay, this is top 60 mark, and I know this is not how it works, and it's not how it should be working, but it is how it works, right? So you see, okay, Zcash, like spot 60 on CoinMarketCap, right? The market cap is just here with 2 billion. Now, I think this project deserves to be in the top 20, right? So where does that put it? Puts it at a 4x. And then that's the target, right? And that's how many people do it. And that's how most people do it. And that's how it works. So you kind of get these moves up the list. And that's how you can kind of measure the potential, even though it's like not even close to how this should be working, but it's just how it is. And it's been like that for years, and then sometimes it overshoots expectations, gets into the top 10, and then it dies there, right? That's the graveyard up here, where shit just dies and it just doesn't move. It goes sideways, or like at least the first time it gets there. And then E, for example, like at some point you establish yourself and then you do some pumps, like XRP, for example. But yeah, this is where coins go when they want to get boring, basically. Why is this the top? I never said that. If you think this is the top, right, the only reason that I could see to make that argument is this daily support failing, right? Then again, like if you look past, like if you look at old all-time highs, they're very, very rarely just like something like this, where it just like goes and tests the high a bunch of times. So the chances of this being the high are relatively slim, even more so given Bitcoin's in a bull market. If it is the high, then you have to kind of consider, okay, where's the next support? But the chances of it being the high are slim still. Don, what is your opinion about the whole idea of watching USD charts and not Bitcoin, as almost all volume is generated of the USD pairs? I mean, I think both are important. I mean, you can look at Wi-Fi, for example. It's a chart that I want to be looking at anyway. I just skipped over it real briefly. You look at Wi-Fi, right? And then you see this, and then you're like, okay, what's the important chart here? And then it's pretty obvious, right? This seems to be, and then you compare this to the USD pair. How are the swings looking there? Is it as easy to kind of see where this is going to go, what it's going to do? Is it going to bounce? Is it not? Is that support? And you look at this, right? Jesus Christ. Good old Head and Shoulders that didn't materialize from years ago, basically. And that's the sad part, right? Fucking Wi-Fi just moving sideways. There's not that much to be done there. And then you look at this, right? And then you have this Head and Shoulders that played out pretty nicely. But then again, this is much, much cleaner, right? Comparing these two. I mean, it's pretty clean, both of them. But then where did it bounce? Way, way away from support. And then was that really that helpful, the support? Not really. So in this case, I would say Wi-Fi BTC is clearly better pair to look at, right? So, I mean, just historically speaking, it's pretty obvious that, I mean, the resistances and the supports on the Bitcoin pair have just been doing wonders, while this one is just, I mean, it's okay, but really like, is this really helping you too much? Not really, right? So you always have to look at the chart, look at the history. What are people trading? I mean, people are probably, the most of the volume is going to be on the USD pair. But if the Bitcoin pair is directing the movement of the asset, I mean, why ignore it, right? It would be stupid. So look at both is my answer to it. In this case, for me, it's pretty damn clear that this is the one that I should be watching. But yeah, Wi-Fi actually looking strong for the first time in a long time, in my opinion. So why am I saying that? So we had a few interesting moments on here where it's been like, I mean, you've put a high, lower high, you kind of held the low here a couple times. But what was interesting is that this didn't break down, right? So we had a support test, tested a million times, and instead of breaking down, it actually broke up and is now trading above support, which was previously resistance, right? So as long as this holds on the Bitcoin pair, this looks pretty damn strong because now you have like a floor set, which is this, and pretty tight invalidation, and risk reward wise, just pretty damn good trade, right? There's like upside of 100%, downside of how much? 8 to, if you get super unlucky, like 13. And that's just for the people that can't imagine it without like a risk reward too. It's a pretty damn easy trade. On Jesus Christ, where is this going? So let's say you do get stopped out at the worst possible place, and it's still a pretty damn good trade, right? Now, is it likely to play out? I wouldn't say it's better than the 50-50, but when you have this kind of odds, where it's like, where I'm not even sure if I would say, okay, it's much worse than 50-50, with an upside like this and a downside like this, and it's just a good trade. Don, how do you choose your stop loss level? I mean, it's generally speaking where I think I'm invalidated. And in this case, for example, do you really want to be holding Wi-Fi if it falls back into the range? Because then what you do is you set another bottom in the same area that you've already set a couple bottoms. No, right? You don't want to be holding down there again. Now, it could obviously bounce again. It's not out of the question, but the more likely scenario, if it does go back down there, is it just bounces and then just dies, right? So that's why I wouldn't want to be holding it. So that's where my stop is, and I try to have my stops where I'm invalidated. My idea is wrong, and I know it based on price action, basically. And I don't have to be stopped out. I can get out of this trade earlier. For example, Litecoin, right? If Litecoin doesn't take off soon, I'm gonna consider my idea invalidated. Now, Litecoin looked bullish to me in general, just off of, I hate that Binance doesn't have it, but Litecoin looked pretty damn good to me based off of the cycle low being hit and then the resistance being broken, right? So this looks pretty damn good. If it does close above here, right? Let's say this closes exactly like it is right now. Where would this be wrong, right? If it does fall back to the cycle low, because then we have at best something like this. And do I want to be in that? No, I would much rather be back in it when it does break out again. So I want to see something like this, or for me to just get invalidated and for it to trade in this range, maybe go up, maybe go down. But at that point, I don't really mind. Because like sitting in the position in this just fucking sucks. Because then you always have to check on it. You have to kind of see, am I invalidated? Is this price movement bullish or bearish? You have to do a bunch of stuff while you're in a trade. If you're not in a trade, you don't have to worry as much. Can you comment on the Kimchi premium, Don? It's pretty hard to. What do you want to know? If you want to know why it exists, it's basically because the arbitrage is super hard to do. You can get money I mean, you can buy Bitcoin here, send it over and sell it, but you can't get that money back out of Korea, right? So that's the problem that people face, and that's why it exists, basically. And I've talked with a bunch of Korean friends today, actually, about it. And the reason why they're saying that the kimchi premium likes to show up whenever crypto's going mad is because they're trying to, like, whenever their friends basically are getting rich, they don't want to see them succeed without succeeding themselves. They kind of want to, if they'd much rather bite the bullet of biting top than seeing their friends succeed without them actually succeeding too. Not entirely sure if that's accurate, no idea, but I mean, that's what my Korean friends told me, which I find hilarious. I fucking love the idea. I mean, that's what I did with fucking yachts, dude. I don't understand it. Seems pretty damn stupid to me, but Loom's super bullish on it, and I trust Loom more than anyone, besides Cred. So I just aped. And that's the way to go, right? It's the same with BitCloud, actually. Not entirely sure if it's like super cool, but a bunch of my friends like it, so I was just like, okay, fuck it. And I mean, I think that's all honestly a good way to go about it in the crypto market, because there's a bunch of stuff that you won't understand, and then having some friends there to kind of support you or to give you guidance, even if they're wrong, right? You don't have to all in. And that's like what I'm saying, right? If you're all inning into yachts or whatever because Loomda told you to, you're doing something stupid, right? But if you're buying a bunch because your friend told you to, that makes a little bit more sense. Even though, like, I mean, it's way above my head. Maybe I'm getting too old, but like emojis in a link seems crazy to me. But then again, like, Loom likes it, so I have to like it. Because, I mean, I'd be stupid if I didn't. Loom was bullish on Shift too. Yeah, but I mean, every other altcoin went down as well, so shit happens. I wouldn't blame. And I mean, it's not like everyone is right all the time, right? I've been wrong plenty of times in my career. It's just, I mean, if I have a strong conviction trade, more often than not, it works out. And more often than not, when Loomdat gives me something that he finds interesting, it works out. It's not always going to work out, but more often than not, it will. You saved it there with Cred, almost left him outside the trust circle. Nah, we're already a pair, dude. We're already a pair. Like, I don't even have to say Cred without, like, he's already included. Always. Cred's like family. Do you calculate for all spot trades your position size also with 1 to 3% account risk? It depends on the conviction level that I have. Let's say I'm like giga bullish on Litecoin. I have like a really good setup. And then I'm like, okay, I'm more than happy to risk 5% on this, and that's fine. Now, if I'm like, okay, this bounces from cycle low, but I mean, it's already running out of steam here. I'm a little bit worried that this is just not gonna go and run. Then, Jesus Christ, that was loud. Then I'm just gonna go lighter, right? Easy as that. It was a joke, mate. Yeah, I mean, sarcasm reads hard and on the internet, dude. I'm sorry. Have to thank you, Don. Learned so much from you and Cred in the years. Happy to hear that, man. Makes the time I spent on it worthwhile. Do send me pics of your Lambo once you get it. I'd love to see it. If we're gonna bounce from this low again, I mean, you could make an argument for bull divs there, like price go down, indicators go up, whatever. I don't like it too much, but I mean, we're in a chop. Like I said, I'm expecting chop. Like, my honest expectation is chop. My hope is we go there, because then that's a good trade to have and a good invalidation. But my expectation is just boring old chop, while the market kind of cools down. And some of the altcoins are going to go crazy and some won't. And people are going to be angry about it. Your real talk, Don. Why did we miss old season? I mean, depends on what you're talking about. I traded some of it on the DeFi pass, but if you want to be catching all of this, right? Let's say you're looking at fun and you're like, okay, why did you miss this move? I don't really care to catch this one. Now, back in 17, I would have, and I did, and I tried to catch everything, and it just kind of, I mean, took years off of my life, in my opinion. So I really don't want to go through it again. I'm more than happy to just chill in Bitcoin while it goes like 15x. But if you want to be super hungry, I mean, do go ahead and jump into everything. It's just, I'm not going to be that guy again. I'm going to jump in some if I get a really good setup, but I'm not going to be the guy that chases the 500 X's. I mean, I'd love to get some of them, but if I don't, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Maybe it's not started. Yeah, I mean, that could be the case. Who the fuck? Like, if you're looking at the older ones, it doesn't really feel like we've had an old season on the older ones. But the newer ones and some of the coins, I mean, this one, for example, I was in. Wasn't really by choice, but I mean, I was in it. How much is this up again? Yeah, stupid percent. I kind of feel bad about this one because it just kind of died the moment I started selling. I don't think it's me, but like whatever. But yeah, that's just like, I mean, the high hardcore, like whatever 500x's are done in the low caps anyway. Like if you're looking for like big moves, right? You're gonna have to look in the lower ranks, in the shitty shit coins. Jesus Christ. 500 is already 66 million. That's crazy. That used to be like top 100 level. But I mean, you're gonna have to be looking into like areas like this, into the shittier shit coins. And I'm never gonna shill these or talk about them, even if I'm in one, just because I can, or you guys can, pump or dump it basically with me, and I'm never gonna do that. So the trade opportunities, whatever trades that I'm gonna talk about, are gonna be mainly in the boring 100. Worst like that I probably go is like this kind of market cap in the 200s. I'm not gonna go much below that, and there's not that much opportunity there for the big numbers. Don, do you think we are more like in April 17 or June 17? Feels like old season is coming to an end. No, plenty of 100x already happened. Pretty hard to call. Pretty damn hard to call. Back in 17 was easier because we had every market go up. This time around, we didn't, right? We now have like some of the older coins start moving positively, right? Like Nano, for example, started moving positively. This is, by the way, this is fine as long as it's holding this. I don't like the fake out, but it is what it is. If it does start going again, I mean, up there's plenty of room to the upside. This would be my optimal buy, but I'm not entirely sure if that's gonna happen. And even like the problem with this buy is that if it does happen, is it not just gonna break? And I'm not entirely sure. But I think this is pretty good buy down there. So I'm gonna be looking at Nano down there. There's a bunch of other altcoins that are in areas like that. So, for example, WeChain, I was hoping to be able to buy down here. Never happened. Didn't pull back enough. So now it's just rallying strong, and yeah, is what it is. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. That's when, like, whenever you put these greedy bits out, that's what you have to deal with, right? Sometimes you just miss. sponsors changing it. Can someone point me to an explanation about why this is no longer sponsored by Bybit? We just, I mean, my main reason, and I can talk about this, is that I prefer referring people to a place where they can just buy crypto over a place where they have to margin trade it. I'm not entirely sure if you guys get why that is. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, right? I'd much rather have people move into the space, invest in something that they kind of believe in, whatever, and just hold it over them trading it on derivatives platforms. Now, it's fine to do both. And I mean, I do both, but I'd much rather have people do one over the other. It's always been the case. And this is the reason why I've not been shilling reflinks, right? I didn't want to be shilling people into reflinks for derivatives exchanges. So, I mean, and I know that there's a lot of money to be made in the reflink kind of, reflink for derivatives kind of landscape, but it's not for me. And that's why I mean, personally, I just much preferred doing business with a service that just kind of lets people on board rather than lets them margin trade. So, I mean, Bybit's been great, and so has Blockfolio. So, no hard feelings anywhere. I'm just it's just personal choice, basically. Hi Dawn, could you check ICX? They have a lot of amazing news in April from FA perspective and want to see from pure TA's perspective. Thanks. Yeah, sure. For you, anything for you, my friend. Anything for you. Let me see. Where is it? I know I have it somewhere. There it is. Yeah, looks good. Looks good to me. This is basically what I was looking for on Nano, right? Where you pull back into the support. And yes, it's ranging in here. You could make an argument that this is the entire full scope of the range, this entire thing, and that you want to be seeing a range breakout. But honestly, I think this was already enough. You've had this shakeout. So as long as this holds and as long as you're bullish on the fundamentals, which I think is important, no reason to think that this resistance is going to hold again, right? So you've had 3 tests. We talked about this at the beginning of the stream. Plenty of tests to go around. You don't want to be bearish into like the 4th or 5th test. The same as you don't want to be bullish in the 4th or 5th test at support, right? So it doesn't look too bad to me. Now, it's nowhere near support and it's nowhere near resistance. So it's pretty hard to place a trade, right? Let's say you enter here. Your resistance is up here. Your support is up here, right? So that's pretty damn hard to do. It could go to either one. I would expect it to go to the resistance instead of the support, but I'm not entirely sure, right? I like to do business at support or at resistance, but I like it. I don't mind it one bit. How much of your portfolio do you usually risk in an altcoin trade, Don, percent-wise? It depends. It depends. Usually, it's pretty damn low. Usually, I just try to lock it in like 1 or 2% because usually on the altcoins, I don't have too much conviction because they've been, besides the DeFi stuff, been stuck in a bear market for a long time. They're only now starting to fall out, start getting bullish again. But they've been in a bear market, so I've been risking very little on them. But if I get high conviction on any of it, I'm gonna be betting bigger than 1% or 2%. So let's say, for example, Litecoin, right? Let's say Litecoin closes above here, pulls back in a fashion that I want to see it, quick and dirty, and I get an allocation. I'd probably not do just 1%. I'd do it higher. And then if it does lose that support again, I mean, so be it, right? Sometimes you just lose on the altcoins. But I mean, I've made a bunch of money on the altcoin trades actually this year, even though I've been very, very picky and haven't done too much. that I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk. So it depends is my answer. And I know that sounds stupid, and I hate when people give the answer, it depends. But like anything in life, it depends, right? What do you do in X situation? It depends, always depends. But I hope that helps you. I would pay 3 Bitcoin to personally watch an arm wrestling match between ZZ and Don live. I mean, the Corona crisis has not been kind to my upper arm strength and my lower arm strength, even worse. But I still think I'd beat him. Just is how it is. But yeah, I think that's plenty for today. Like I said, for Bitcoin, don't panic too hard. We're still at support. We haven't even broken the most obvious one yet, which is super weak, right? So this 3 tests, super weak support, haven't even been able to break that. So no reason to worry yet. And even if this breaks, we have a really, really good support down here. Now, if that breaks, start panicking because we're in trouble. But until it does, no reason to panic. And it's the same with ETH. Pulled back to support, and ETH's the market leader right now, in my opinion anyway. It's kind of leading Bitcoin, at least for the last few days. Just pulled back to support. Now, I don't like it too much that it did it, because I like the clean breakouts the best. But, I mean, it's a pullback to support nonetheless. Okay, hope that helps. Before I jump out again, shout out to Blockfolios for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Check their links out if you're interested in their services. They're in the description. They provide basically a way to get into crypto via your mobile phone. Pretty damn easy to get into stuff and out of stuff, trade between them, all that kind of stuff. So pretty neat. Yeah. Thanks for coming by, guys, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.